So, welcome to part two of Indonesia and Cambodia 2019. This is the Cambodia part. Sarah and I were visiting Cambodia on our own. So, we booked a driver and guide throughout, and we did it through Asia Voyage Travels and Tours. And I want to thank them for their helpfulness and flexibility. And we also want to thank our guide, Shoop, who was absolutely fantastic. So, I would recommend both without any reservation. On this trip, we explored mostly sites around uh, Angkor in the ancient capital of the Khmer Empire, the late capital. Um, so we're mostly there and the local town of Siem Reap. But on day one, we booked a driver, as I mentioned, and went all the way out to the Thai border at Priya Vihir, coming back through Koh Kay. And then on the second day, we go out to actually some mountains out here, and then come back through Bantang Shrey. And then we're mostly around here, which, as you can see, has a ton of activity after that. What you see on the left is Priya Vihir, which is one of the oldest temples, and it's in kind of rough shape. And it's in a disputed portion of Cambodia on the border with Thailand. At times it's been a hot border. Right now is a good time to go visit it. And this is the main entrance to Priya Vihir. And as you can see, it goes down the side of a mountain, and that road goes straight into the modern day country of Thailand. Both countries were part of the Angkor Empire before they were countries, the Khmer Empire, I should say, before they were countries. And so both peoples share a lot of culture and a lot of cuisine, but with modern borders, there's some modern tensions. And what you're looking at is a Naga balustrade. And so this is a giant water-based snake, and it's at the front entrance here. That's the same guy, and its body covers the entire thing and forms the balustrade, and its tail comes up this way. Um, Priya here is a series of long walkways and gopuras or gates between those walkways with sometimes temple structures. So the second walkway is actually lined with linga, which are the symbols of Shiva. And yes, this is a Hindu temple. And to the right is one of the examples of a gopura. And in this portion on the lintel is one of the oldest depictions of the churning of the Milk Sea in Southeast Asia, which makes this temple famous. Even though this is a Hindu temple, the religion that came to dominate after the Khmer Empire was Theravada Buddhism. So many of the temples have long histories as Buddhist temples as well. So visitors need to respect local customs of modesty. If you want to see the entire temple, you'll need to wear a shirt that covers your shoulders and upper arms, pants or shorts that are at least as long as the knees that cover the full knees, and you're going to need to take your shoes off when you enter shrines. This can be really hard when it's 90 degrees, like it was on most of the days that we were there, with high humidity, but it's important to follow local custom, and it's the only way you're getting in to the inner temple. To the right, you can see a natural pool, and at the top, not only an amazing view, but a bunch of adolescent monkeys playing the water. It was absolutely fantastic. We were a long way from Siem Reap, about 4 hours by car, and so we were glad to have a stop on the way back. We visited Lingapura, which is translates as the city of Linga, and the step pyramid structure to the left is Koke. So this is one of the oldest styles of structure, and when we climbed it, you could look down, you can actually see the wall that surrounds it and the individual linga that are on those walls. There are a number of temples around the old capital, and for me, this is the most picturesque. It's Prasat Pram. It's an early ancestor shrine of the type that will inspire Angkor Wat. It's got 5 towers, which have high mountain-like rooftops. And it's most noted for this particular temple for the way the trees have sort of grown in and around and hold the structures themselves together. On the bottom here, you can see that there's substantial damage as well from acid rain affecting the moss that's growing on it that bleaches the stone. This is a particularly difficult environment to conserve, and as you can see from the picture on the right, you can't exactly get rid of the tree or the temple would kind of fall apart. The next day we drove out to the Kulin Mountains to view Kabul Speen, which is in the valley of a thousand linga. And because it's the dry season, you could see all of these linga carved into the rock bed, and there are some narrative sculptures that can be seen because the water level was low. It's a really beautiful natural place, very different from the other things in and around the ancient Khmer capital. And we were able to visit also Bante Shre, which is a smaller scale temple that was built by one of the king's counselors. And it's odd in that it's primarily built of sandstone and that it's really, really well preserved. So this is a good place for me to introduce the types of figures that you see where you have Devata or guardian figures in other areas, which are female figures combined with a sort of often dance posture. And you'll find these figures on most mature Khmer monuments. Absolutely beautiful. We also made it to Bang Malia, which is a site renowned for being one of the most spectacular ruins in terms of having it held together by trees. In the old days, you used to be able to climb all over this ruin, but that isn't safe and it's not good for the monument. So today they are restoring it and they keep you on a boardwalk. But our guide Shoot brought us into a section that's not normally available to the public, so we got a bit of a feel for how this monument used to be, and you can see that on the right with kind of nobody around. But we didn't climb anything to get dangerous. Um, Cambodian food is amazing. The top picture is actually us in the back of a tuk-tuk. This guy is actually pedaling us out there to a restaurant which is Cuisine Wat Denmark or Demnak. And what we wanted to try were some hybrid Cambodian ideas in food mixed with two of the most important and influential cultures to Cambodia, French and Chinese. So my favorite is this one here, and it won't look like it sounds, but this is black sticky rice porridge, which is on the bottom, with crispy duck confit, glazed turnips, Siam Reap sausage, and a homemade oyster sauce. So this is a set of flavors that you just won't find anywhere else. So in our final 3 days in Cambodia, we concentrated on the temples around Siem Reap, and this is where the late masterpieces are. We made it to actually over 2 dozen temples total, but I'm going to give you the three big highlights because I don't think most people want to see all of that. And we'll start with Angkor Thom, which is the biggest of the monuments. It's actually an enclosed large um, it's not a castle. It's like a large park or a large quadrant that's been surrounded by a wall. It has four entrances in the cardinal directions, and this is the main entrance. And what you have are well over life-size statues of the gods and the demons on the other side, swirling the giant snake to churn the sea of milk. And this is as the walkway or a new type of balustrade. To the right is a very mature-looking Naga balustrade, and that's what you have to walk in order to get into the main temple in Angkor Thom, the Bayun. The Bayun has mountain tops that have been replaced with the four-headed images of Lokiteshvara. This is the Bodhisattva of compassion, so this is a Buddhist and not a Hindu monument. These are also supposed to be the faces of Jayavarman VII, so it's also a big imperial statement. These have, for me, the most mature and beautiful of the Devata. You can see that to the right, but right above that, you can see there was a backlash when the country went back to Hinduism for a short period of time after, where an image of the Buddha was actually scraped away. So a lesser known art site, but one that's really big in pop culture is Ta Prohm. This is another temple where there are absolutely breathtaking trees growing through it. But the thing that made it famous is the what we're taking a picture of off to the right there. I haven't seen it, but apparently this is the main temple that in Tomb Raider that is entered. There was a huge line to take pictures. Um, I didn't want to do it, but I'm really glad that Shub convinced us to, and then he took this vertical panoramic. There are just really interesting juxtapositions with the artificialness of intentional design and the seeming randomness of nature here. They combine in really beautiful ways, and I love that Devada's face just poking through those tree roots. Our biggest objective was to get great images of Angkor Wat, and it's designed as a five mountain structure which represents the more than just our world. We're on that main middle mountain, set within a cosmic ocean. And so we booked a helicopter to get images of the temple and its placement within these man-made canals. You can see the whole thing is a microcosmos of the macrocosmos. Um, on one morning, we visited before sunrise and were able to view not just the sun coming up over Angkor Wat, but the lower galleries of bas-relief sculpture with nearly no one around. On a different day, we were the last people to enter the top shrine, and so we were virtually alone up there and able to get pictures of one of the most important sites in Cambodia with just about nobody around. We were able to see where there are still areas of paint, so we know this was a very colorful monument, and we were able to see Buddhist monks setting up in the evening as it turns toward more spiritual activity and people are led out of the monument, and that's Sarah making an offering on the right there. So, if you stay really late, you can be one of the last people and you can take a shot like this from the outside, or if you get there really early, you can get a shot like this where you can see the sun coming up over those pools. It is just absolutely amazing. The last thing that we went to see was a little different. We went and we visited a village down on the Tonle Sap Lake and saw how locals have been living in this area that floods annually for hundreds of years. And so the water was really low. So you can see underneath this house, it's built on stilts so that you can gain something like 12 feet of water before it gets to the house. So they know how high that thing's going to get. To the right, we booked some time on a boat and were able to go out to permanent barges. This one happens to be a restaurant, but there are all kinds of other things out on the lake. It's a very different way of living, but it's one that people have done for, as I said, generations and hundreds of years. So I wanted to just end with a tiny bit of a pep talk, which is sometimes when you're traveling, you just need to try things. So on the left, you can see this restaurant when it's shut down. It says on it, duck soup container. So Sarah and I went there expecting, well, duck soup. Of course, when we got there, nobody spoke English. It was full of Cambodian families who were eating Cambodian style hot pot. There was both a grill and then this hot plate that you could cook soup on. I was kind of familiar with those things, but we didn't really know how much things would cost, and we didn't really know what we could get. And yeah, we never found duck. In fact, we finally got enough nerve to ask people, and they asked why we wanted duck because they didn't know the English on the outside said duck soup container. So we never did find that duck, but we had an absolutely great time and a great meal. And I hope you will also visit Cambodia and have that fantastic time. Maybe you'll find duck.